Hi guys, Matt Collins here from Beausoleil. In this video I'm going to talk to you about my personal experiences with using ESP Syncro XT Loaded in £10 and £18 over the last year. We're going to be looking at abrasion resistance, knot strength, level of memory, how well it casts, general usability and how well it sinks. So I bought the £18 version for use here mainly at Beausoleil for short to medium range. Now Beausoleil's quite a rocky venue and we have some very big powerful catfish in here, so I wanted a really strong and robust line. I wasn't really worried about how well that line casts at 0.40, but I wanted something very strong. I bought the £10 version for use at much bigger venues, big lakes, big reservoirs. That line is all about the distance. Now obviously it's only a £10 main line, so in order to get the distance I require I need to add a shock leader to that, but that's not an issue. Let's have a look at the individual characteristics of the ESP line now. One of the first things I do whenever I buy a new spooler line is I test it. Now I've just grabbed one of our test bells here. This is just it's an 8 kilo kettle bell. You don't have to have one of these. You can make up a bucket of water and put 8 kilo of water in it or whatever. This is £18 line. This is 8 kilos, 17.5 pounds, and we're going to tie a few knots and see how we go. So I'm just going to use a Palomar knot. Hook it on the test rig. I'm going to put my casting glove on. You can wrap it round anything, but I've got a really robust lighter here, so that'll do. Bank stick works, and we'll see how we go. I'm just going to hold on to the swivel, make sure it doesn't go bang right away. It's off the deck, let go of the swivel. There we go. First time Palomar knot, £17.5. It's a good one. So that's great. £18 Syncro, Palomar knot, £17.5, job done. I tested this line with loads of different knots. The recommended knot for this line for maximum strength is the 5-turn grinner. So obviously when I bought this line I tied a 5-turn grinner. I'm going to do one now and we'll see what happens. Okay, so that's nested down. We'll see how we do. So it took quite a lot of time and trouble over that knot. You've got to with the 5-turn grinner. Oh, there we go. Now that is not a lot of good. Obviously that's taking the product to the absolute max, but according to the back of the packet, a well-tied double grinner should be good for £25. Now either I don't know how to tie a double grinner, possible, but I've tied an awful lot of them, or that knot does not suit this material at all. I've done loads of these 5-turn grinner tests and that one wasn't bad. It nearly got the bell off the deck, but I've had plenty of others that have just gone snap before I've barely moved the bell. So it is strong. I found the Palomar knot very reliable, but if you're following the instructions, doing a 5-turn grinner, tying your knots as you do, and if you're not testing them, well, you could have a nasty surprise if it fails on you. While we're on the subject of knot strength, let's have a little chat about the £10 version. Much to my surprise, the £10 version with a simple Palomar knot is actually good for about £14. That's fantastic performance from a mono that's only 0.30 in diameter. So in terms of knot strength, good news, bad news. It is strong line, it has got good knot strength, but you have to be very careful. You have to use the right knot, you still have to test the knot, but If you do it right and take your time, you can get a really strong connection. Let's have a look at abrasion resistance. This is a rock that I just picked up off the deck one day. I always choose the same bit of the rock to run the line over, so when I test various different lines, I kind of know their relative performance. And all I do is I wrap it around my fingers a bit, get over the rock, and we just count the backs and forths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 21, 22, 23, 24. There we go. That's a lot of abuse, that score of 24. That's pretty blooming good. To set that into context, I'm just going to grab some 25-pound big game, which is what we've been using for the cats here for years. We got cats to 120 pounds, so they really do pull. 18, 19, 20, 21, 20, 22. 22, 24, about the same. But this line is 0.48 diameter. This line is only 0.4 diameter. So the relative performance in terms of abrasion resistance of the 18-pound Syncro is fantastic. Let's have a look at how much memory the Syncro has. So this is the 18-pound, and I'm just going to pull some off here. I'm going to put it into my hand. I'm going to crunch it up, smash it up, put a few kinks in there. Hopefully you can see the difference between the two. This is the unmessed one and the messed up one. It's not too bad. This line hasn't been abused. It's been stored away safely in a dark cupboard. If I try and smooth it out, it does smooth out very nicely. That's great, but that line is unused. I want to show you what some line looks like that I've been using. I've probably done 70 or 80 nights fishing with this line. That's a lot of fishing, a lot of exposure to UV, and let's see how it looks then. Right, let's grab a rod off the bivvy, and I'm going to show you what problems I've been having. Oh, here we go. That didn't take long. Now we're starting to get a coil up here basically. And these coils are driving me bat. So I started having problems with this line very early on. Now, I don't use the clutch. I'm back widening on every fish. I don't rip line off the clutch, so I'm not inducing any twist. I'm doing my absolute best to minimize twist. So why am I getting this coily, twisty line effect? So what I've done, I've soaked another spool in water for a few hours, and I'll show you how differently that behaves. So what I've done here, I've taken an old sweatband, I've dunked it in the lake, give it a good soak, and then I've put it over the spool. I had this on for about 3 or 4 hours. What it's doing is it's keeping the line wet. No matter what mono you buy, it's all basically nylon with some additives in it. Nylon is hygroscopic, which means that it absorbs water, and through the process of evaporation, the mono is losing moisture all the time. The effect on mainline is that it changes the properties of the line. So dry line is very coily and subject to looping up. Moist line, properly hydrated line, behaves very well. Now I noticed this when I was fishing through some very wet weather, and all of a sudden my dry coily line went from being horrible to use to beautiful to use. So I came up with this little sweatband trick, and it really is very effective. So let's run it through the sticks here. Now immediately I can feel this line absolutely flying through my fingers. It feels soft, supple, and it's just goes lovely. It's as though I'm using like brand new line. And we can go and go and go. So I'm not quite sure whether it's the ESP Syncro is particularly susceptible to drying out and losing the moisture and changing the way it behaves, but I can tell you that if you don't keep the moisture in it, it does become dry and coily and horrible to use. It's not enough just to dip the rod, splash some water on the spool and cast out. You need to get the water into the material, and that takes time. So let's have a look at how the ESP Syncro sinks. I've just cast out to a spot here and we've got a bit of surface wind, so it's no good me just kind of leaving it to do its own thing, otherwise there'll be a massive bow in the line. All I'm doing at the rod end is I'm just flicking the rod tip, just teasing the line, breaking it through the surface tension, and you can see that if I just keep on waggling the rod, that it encourages it through the surface, helps it cut through the surface, and it does sink and settle quite nicely. So I'm happy enough with the way that the Syncro sinks. Don't get me wrong, it's no fluorocarbon, but it does what it says on the tin. When I wind in the morning, I can tell how well it's sunk on the bottom, because I have to use quite a lot of force to lift the line, flip that lead off, get it up out of the way, out of danger, and I can feel that the line is really kind of sunk over the bottom into the silt. So in those terms, it's good stuff. So let's have a quick chat about how it casts. The 18 pound, the 0.40, well, it casts like 0.40. If you're a reasonable caster, then it'll do up to 100 yards without too much bother, but if you're looking for more than that, then you're going to have to drop to the lower diameter. So for my distance work, I used the 10 pound version, so I coupled that with a braided leader. So down the reservoir, in damp conditions, I did all right. The line behaved well. I got the leads out there to the distance that I wanted, probably about 120, 125, something like that, with a baited rig. On a bright sunny day, when the spools were dry, I could really hear it rattling through the rings, even the 0.30, and I knew that that was costing me distance, and that was a bit frustrating. So, ESP Syncro. Do I like it? Would I recommend it? Well, it's got some excellent properties. It sinks well, it's got fantastic abrasion resistance. Those are its real plus points. On the downside, I found it a bit twitchy on the knots. You can get some good knot performance out of it, but you've really got to be careful. What I didn't like is how much memory it's got and its susceptibility to drying out in the sun. It made it difficult to cast and not nice to use. Very susceptible to coils and twists. This can be a real pain if you're running rigs out through a bait boat or rowing rigs out and dropping them by hand. It's a bit Marmite. You're either going to love it or hate it. If you look after it and keep it moist, it's beautiful stuff. If you leave it go dry and coily, you're going to hate it. If you've got any experience of ESP Syncro, drop a note in the comments, and if you've got any other questions, as always, do leave a comment. I try and respond to them all.